This is the former site of the Scio Mills in Michigan. I'm Darren, and this is the Industrial Revolution. Back in 1831, just behind you here, a sawmill was built. The population was growing in the area, settlers were coming in, and they needed lumber to build their homes, quite simply. That was soon followed by a grist mill over here, and those ran until about 1901 when they finally shut down. There's not much left out here today, but that's not entirely why we're making the video here today. Something that you may not know about me, if you're watching this channel, especially if you've been watching for a while, you know that I love Industrial Revolution technology, no question about that. But something you may not know is I'm actually an active hiker as well. And the two actually do go together a lot better than you might think. When you spend enough time hiking, you pretty quickly get fairly good at spotting things along the trail that just really don't belong. And you spot the remains of old mills, you spot old farmsteads, mines, and everything else really along the side of the trail. And if you're curious, you go check them out. You try to figure out what's going on. And much of the purpose of today's video is not to focus so much on the mills that were here, although we're going to check out what's left, of course. Much of the purpose today is we're actually going to talk about how to find things out in the woods and what to look for and how to kind of get steered in the right direction when you find things. So let's go ahead and we're going to start off down the trail and we'll take a look and see what we can spot. So I don't know a whole lot about the mills here. I do know that by the time they shut down, both Dexter and Ann Arbor were pretty good sized towns, and they basically just weren't needed anymore is what it really amounts to. So the path we're walking on, this is the first thing that should really stand out. If you look to both sides of the path, if you look over here, we'll see there's a big drop off on the left, and the Huron River is just over on the left. If you look over here, we see there's a big drop off on the right too. Coming back to center here, the trail is not perfectly straight, relatively narrow, but whenever you have a elevated path like this, this is not something that most places just don't put that much effort into building trails. They just put the trail down here. They wouldn't have actually built up all this land for it. So what does this tell you? Well, there's a few things that can lead to this. One of the main things that can lead to it is a rail bed. You know, they ran a railroad down here. Railroads can't do hills. They can't climb hills. They can't really control themselves going down hills. So if you have a railroad, you end up building a lot of stuff like this. But look how narrow this is. You know, we've only got 3 feet wide on the top. That's just too narrow for a railroad. Another thing that will generate this sort of a bed is a road bed. You know, cars and wagons and things can handle steeper climbs than trains, certainly. But again, we've only got 2-3 feet wide here, and that's just not wide enough. And no one's going to bother with this much trouble for a footpath. So what is it? Well, look off to the side here. Remember the river's on the left, so if you look off to the right, have you noticed that the ground level on the right's been coming up a little bit? Go over this way. Ground level on the left, that's coming up a little bit too. The trail's pretty level. So as we're going down here and suspecting a water-powered mill was here, what we're left with really is the idea that this was an earthen dam. This is sort of a, much like, today's dikes or levees. The idea was to allow you to build up water over on the right-hand side. And that way you get a better drop for the mill itself. And you might be hearing, off in the distance, we're starting to hear something that sounds like rapids. Let's go check those out. On the way though, you'll notice the ground level is coming up even more, whereas we had probably an 8-foot drop. Now we're probably about a 4-foot drop on either side. And it seems to be coming up fairly quick here, actually. Sound of the rapids is getting louder. You can see them off to the left there on the river. But are those actually rapids? Here you have what looks like a little washed out area, where you go back to the same height again. And a very narrow spur of land sticking out here. And here's what we've been listening to. So if you know this area's geology, we are in what's considered to be terminal glacial moraine. Terminal glacial moraine just means that the ice age came down from the north. This is the last ice age. This is kind of where it ended. Everything melted, and the ice went back, and just everything getting pushed in front of the glacier just got dumped here. That creates like lots and lots of rolling hills, not a lot of bedrock. It also creates a lot of these. Various sized rocks up to about this big. Occasionally you'll see stuff bigger, but mostly they're, in this sort of size range as they got tumbled in front of the glaciers and amongst themselves. And that's what we have here, is a rock dam. Now the Huron River is really popular among canoes and kayaks. It's navigable almost its entire length. It's been used by fur traders, by Native Americans. In fact, where we are now, there was at one point plans to put a spur off the Clinton and Kalamazoo Canal all the way down into Ann Arbor. The canal failed and the spur never happened. But the river has actually been part of the human culture here for, well, as long as human culture has been here, really. And it's been a major part of that culture. But if we look here at all these rocks, and the path we were following coming up here, what you see is that the rocks were actually piled across here. And this is a really basic form of dam. It's a rock dam. Today, if you come down here on canoe or kayak, the level's been lowered some to make it passable. And though it's hard to see it today because the water's so high, we do have some flooding going on in the area today. About halfway out, you'll see you have a little area of smoother water. And that's where in the center they actually lowered it a bit further. And that allows you at lower water levels to be able to shoot through easily with a canoe or kayak. It's not a technical river by any means. It's only 2 sets of rapids still on the entire river. There used to be more before some dams were built. And the 2 sets that are there, typically not very challenging. But they can be a lot of fun, especially if you don't have a lot of canoe or kayak experience. So the dam was built here. It was actually built up to about this high. And I can tell that because looking up here in front of me, that's about how high the rocks go before it switches over to dirt. The goal was not to completely seal off the water here or anything. That was not necessary at all. The goal was to back up the water behind it a bit and cause it to flow down into the mill pond on the other side of that walkway. So as we're coming up, you had the lower area on the left, and that was where the river was, and still is today. And you had the low area on the right. That was the mill pond, headed up towards the mill itself. By raising this dam up, you increase the depth of the mill pond. The higher that water level, the more power you get from it. So that's why that was built. It wasn't huge, but this flows year-round. It doesn't freeze over, although the mill pond probably did freeze over in the winter. But this was actually a really good power source, and still is a good power source. So let's go take a look at what else we have here with this mill. So we head back up, getting more up to the level where this dam would have originally been built. You can see just upriver of it, the low channel that allowed the water to divert into the mill pond. As we head back down, imagine this mill pond, water level probably up to maybe within a foot or so of where we are on the height of this path. So here you're looking at a few feet of water, not a whole lot. Let's see how much more we get as we go further down the path, get closer to the mill. And again, the path I'm walking on is level. The ground on both sides is dropping. That's pretty much the natural ground height over on the sides. A little bit of silt buildup on the left side, of course. Probably 7 or 8 feet down over on the left side. Again, putting water a foot or two from the top. That means we're looking at 5-6 feet of water over there probably. A little bit last midsummer, a little bit more later in the winter when we have high water, the winter and spring. This is all mill ponds, so remember this is fairly stationary water here. Going out the first time, you probably didn't notice this as such a clear, obvious man-made structure. But hopefully you are now. That's the purpose of the video, is to learn what to look for. Over on the left now, we're a good 8-10 feet down. But if you'll notice, here we have a drop coming up in the trail. And this is a washout. Actually, it's not even strictly speaking a washout. This is probably a scavenging of the dirt to fill the spot just ahead. Look over on the right-hand side, you see there's a water channel going out there, and that's the mill race. So this would have originally stayed up high through this section and would have just had a little footbridge to get across the mill race here. When they put the trail in, they just dug some of the dirt off both ends and used it to fill in. So let's take a look down the mill race. So we're leaving the reservoir, the mill pond over here, and we're headed down the mill race. And the mill race also would have been up high. And that would have stayed up high until it got down to the mill itself. Let's go see if we can find any signs of that mill. A little side trail just up ahead, and we'll take that over. So as we follow the mill race down, it's not very long. We see a narrow spot up ahead, and then it drops into the Huron River just beyond. Now we're not really that far down from where that rock dam was, from where the mill pond entered. If you think about it, it's a very short distance, but along that way, we did see a drop of 8-10 feet, which gives you maybe 8 or 10 feet of water drop. And that's pretty substantial. And this, I'm afraid, is the end of the road. There's no trace of the physical mill building, which was right over here. That was the grist mill originally. This is the tail race. The tail race is the part of the race after the mill process itself, after the water wheel or turbine. The mill itself sat right here, water wheel here, and the building on the far side. Originally it was a nice grist mill structure to serve the farmers in the area. Today, some people would say there's nothing left of it, but as we've just seen, we had a rock dam at the top that pointed us in the right direction. We had the mill pond right next to it. We had the levee just beyond that that we walked along at, the earthen dam. We had the mill race, turned off the far end of the mill pond. We have the tail race here. We know exactly where the mill was because we can tell where the mill race and tail race ran. And that tells us exactly where the mill was. So this is the Scio Mill grist mill. The lumber mill, the sawmill on the other side, there is nothing left. That's been bulldozed, turned into a factory actually. It's a factory parking lot. But on this side, we still actually have quite a bit left. And next time you're out walking in the woods, take a look and see what you can spot. You might be surprised. Along the way, you might just find the Industrial Revolution.